Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, and if you're having clone problems, I feel bad for your son. I got Clone Force 99 and the batch ain't one. Hit me! So,
what?
Dear me. Now the fourth episode is now out, and throughout this video we're going to be going through the latest entry, unpacking all the Easter eggs in it, and also giving our thoughts on what they could be teasing out with Sid. The entry is called Faster, and this entire episode is based around Riot Racing. This seems like it's the more chaotic version of pod racing, which we of course saw all the way back in The Phantom Menace. That movie spawned numerous games, including Pod Racer for the N64, which I don't mean to brag about, but I was basically the Sebulba in my house. My dad couldn't beat me, my sister, no chance, and my mum, she couldn't even get the engine started. What a chump.
See you, chump.
Now the track itself has noticeable nods to the one from Mos Eisley. There's a starting position with the upper seats that looks similar to how it was laid out in that film. There's ramps as well, and these very much replace the sand ones that we had on the planet. The racers are also shown in the same vein as the pod racing one, and we'll get into these characters later on in the video. However, journey back to my youth with me once more, and I actually think that this also takes inspiration from another PlayStation classic. All the way back in 1997, there was a futuristic racing game called Wipeout 2097, and this too had tracks like this laid out across its universe. These were lit up with neon signs and metallic tracks that bend around the planets like what we have here. Might be a reach, might not, but do me a favour and reach for that thumbs up button if you enjoy the video. Make sure you subscribe for breakdowns, Django Fett for a king, and with that out of the way, let's get into the Bad Batch. So we start off on Ord Mantell, which is looking a lot brighter than usual. This is one of the corners of the galaxy that still hasn't been overtaken by the Empire at this point, and it doesn't get its claws into it until much later on. However, I have a feeling that Sid might even end up potentially selling out the batch, and this could be what's being teased at. I really doubt it, but I think it's a theory worth exploring, as there are several warnings of Sid's vicious past. I think most likely Hera Wanda Sykes could reach out to the Imperials, and this will be how Crosshair and Rampart end up tracking them down. Now we cut to the streets and see Gödel walking through, eating what appears to be a Mile-run fruit. I think if that's how you pronounce it. Now this is a snack that's popped up throughout the saga, and Gödels have also appeared throughout several different things. In Sid's parlour we see Omega and Wrecker playing holo chess, which is shot to resemble how it played out in A New Hope. Now every time we visit this bar, we have to point out that the three pumps in the back are also what appeared in A New Hope, and these ended up being used as the head of IG-88. Thumbs down on the video if you're sick of that Easter egg, but I don't know if you've watched these videos before, so I have to keep including it, and I hope you guys forgive me. I know you will. Now Omega says that Wrecker owes her 2 cartons of Mantell mix, and this is something that the pair ate throughout Season 1 at several points. Looks like no one can escape the energy crisis, and even Sid is worried about the electricity bills.
Hey, quit running up the power bill.
On the bar, we can see that Tech is playing the card game Sabacc, which is also the thing that Han won the Millennium Falcon in. Now it turns out Hunter and Echo are transporting Nerf nuggets, which are basically what Nerf herders.
Nerf herder!
You can't use that word! Only we can use that word!
Sorry, N-word herders make from the bison-like creatures Nerfs. Now, neither of these two are in the episode, and instead we get a story focused on these three and Sid. AZ is still working in the bar, and I actually suspect that he might be the first of Crosshair's victims when he comes to the parlor looking for the batch. Now when it comes to Star Wars, you know that lightsabers are the coolest things in the galaxy, and that's why we've teamed up with Owner Saber to bring you 20% off everything on their site. These are top of the line replicas, and you can choose from Padawan sabers, Master ones, Elite ones, and the more exotic ones from the Star Wars saga. There's even a Lego one, which I bloody love it. Now each lightsaber comes with an SN Pixel soundboard that has 16 sets of sound fonts. You can also choose from 9 different blade colours, and each one brings with it a realistic ignition sound and other sound effects. This has got realistic dueling sounds, blaster blocks, and full control over everything. I picked up the Night Reaper, and as you can hear, it's got realistic sound effects, really smooth swing, blaster blocks, yeah, really cool. It also came with spare screws, a wrench manual, and a little booklet detailing everything about it. It's such a cool way to start the new year, and you can buy now and pay later with Afterpay that allows you to pay in 4 to 6 weekly payments. You will check out the deal where you enter heavy spoilers at checkout for 20% off. Don't be the Obi-Wan to miss out on this deal. Owner Saber know what they're talking about, so head over to the website now, which is linked in the description, enter heavy spoilers at checkout and get 20% off. That's 20% off Owner Saber by clicking the link in the description and entering heavy spoilers at the checkout. May the Force be with you. Goodbye. Now the planet is packed with aliens, but we first start off with a focus on a bottle. I believe this is the drink Fatro, which is served in cantinas across the entire galaxy. We don't see who this belongs to, but later on the champion is sat sipping it, so this is probably our introduction to him here. As we pull up, we see a Godel again, some Rhodians, some Twi'leks, and some Arconas, which are those weird triangle head aliens. I always forget whether it's Twi'leks or Twi'leks, so let me know in the comments below, but don't spell it any differently, just write the word Twi'leks. Now there's also an Aqualish, which is the same species as Ponda Baba, and all of these aliens appeared in the Mos Eisley Cantina, which was the hive of scum and villainy. Not being racist, mate, but them appearing here again, let's just say it paints out this area as not being the most upstanding place. Apologies if any aliens got offended with that bit. Now Sid takes them to the main arena, which we also see using a bridge for the start and finish line with lights in the middle like the pod racer track. There's also a tower where the commentators sit in, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time that Riot Racing's been in the saga. Let me know if I'm wrong though, and on the track we see pit droids along with a racing droid as well. Known as ringer droids, they're used because of their processing power, which means they can make split-second decisions that allow them to race at such high speeds. This was something Qui-Gon discussed in The Phantom Menace, and he said that Anakin's reflexes would have to be similar to a Jedi's in order to be able to do this. Teo is very used to winning, and as we say, pride comes before a fall. I love the way his head flips around so he can talk to people behind him, and he's got this pretty cool design that makes him adept at being a racer. His modified speeder gets bust up on the course, but firstly we meet the gangster in Greenie Milegi. Voiced by my guy Ernie Hudson. You know he told the world that busting makes you feel good, as a Ghostbuster. Now his species is quite rare, and this is actually a Dautan. If you played Fallen Order, then you might recognise his species, and Ninth Sister is one and the same. He also has a Gamorrean with him, and his champ who Greenie wants to pit against Sid. Now unlike pod racing, attacking the other players is allowed in Riot Racing. When Sebulba was doing it during Phantom Menace, he was breaking the rules, and all the stuff with his flamethrower built into the pod was only overlooked because of the gangsters on the planet that ran the entire circuit. Here though it's allowed, and we see the first race playing out. Amongst the racers we can catch a BX battle droid, and you might recognise them as appearing in the episode last week. These were highly advanced battle droids, but they were only used in extreme circumstances because they were more costly to produce. After the war ended, many droids continued operating, but like the clones, they had to find other roles that weren't them being soldiers. Similar to how the Bad Batch have gone off and done their own thing, they have too, and they very much represent the remnants of war that no longer have a true purpose. We also see a protocol droid, and quite a funny one that calls back to Attack of the Clones that we'll talk about in just a bit. And we see just how dangerous Riot Racing is when an innocent bystander gets hit when the guy starts throwing shots out to everyone like when I call my viewers chumps. In front of him is a Bith, and it goes to show life's a Bith and then you die. The racers get to a canyon similar to beggars, and they make a point of not taking the left tunnel, which foreshadows the events later on. Now whereas Jabba sat in the main tower in Phantom Menace, here we see Milegi does it in his. His champion takes out Teo with a reverse saw, with him being bottlenecked in, similar to what happens to Tech later on. Teo has been completely bust up, and Milegi comes to collect. Sid's been writing checks at her but can't cash, and thus they put it on an all or nothing bet. This echoes the one in Phantom Menace that Qui-Gon had with Watto, and I don't know if Milegi should be accepting all these bets with kids who clearly can't pay up. There's no way she's paying you money. Now Milegi takes Sid and gives them 24 hours to repair the racer. They start to fix up Teo, who says,
"Incapable. I am ready to..."
Where are my arms and legs?
Got a lot of vibes to C-3PO panicking when he'd been shot in Empire, and as they say, it's sort of like poetry they rhyme. Tech talks about how this isn't the first time that Sid's caused them trouble because of her dealings, and this is likely a nod to Durand in Season 1. It had me saying, Teo, I'm tired of you in technology. For f***'s sake. Sid and Milegi sit and drink to old times, with the former saying that she's changed. Milegi thinks Sid's true nature will surface eventually, and if put in a precarious position, she might have to choose between herself and the Bad Batch. The Empire are of course going to be hunting them, and I think it's going to be her on the line come the latter parts of the season. Tech tries to tell Teo the best route for the cause, but he's smashed like it's a like button by a stray racer. Thus Tech has to tech to the track, and we're introduced to the racers. This includes a battle droid head placed on a protocol droid's body, and if you cast your mind back to Attack of the Clones, then you might remember C-3PO had something similar. Now this was eventually put back to normal, but I'd like to think that this battle droid ended up being put back on a protocol droid's body, and this is my guy living his life in the fast lane having survived the war. Anyway, the race begins with it immediately heating up. As the racers fly through the tunnels, we get several ads, and in the back we can see a yellow Seraph class urban land speeder one. These were shown on Naboo in the Phantom Menace, and you could play one in Battle for Naboo on the N64. And how I miss those days. Now there's also one for Coruscant before we cut to pit droids, giving the hat-trick of Phantom Menace Easter eggs. Tech ends up ditching weapons on the speeder so that he can go faster, and he also puts further energy into his shield so that he can survive the blasts. Slowly he makes his way up the chain as the racers are whittled down, and he takes the left offshoot tunnel. This is pretty much the Temple of Doom track, filled with precarious holes and death-defying drops. However, it gives Tech a boost, and when he's bottlenecked in like how Teo was, he manages to emerge out on top. This is through using the two racers against each other, and these were clearly part of the Bed and Malegi's crew. However, it's backfired, and Insubulba style are taken out before hitting the finish line, and the batch gotta get Sid back. The gangster stops his champion from shooting them, and instead he gives a warning that Sid can't be trusted. We don't really know much about her, and again I feel like she may be the linchpin that brings everything with them crashing down. Anyway, that ends the entry, and I thought this was a fun episode that reminded me why this is pod race. Well, Riot Racing, but this is pod racing. Anyway, it was nice just having an offshoot with some of the batch, and though it didn't push the overall story forward massively, it's hard to ding this episode because of how fun it was overall. So yeah, really enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it below. We are running a competition right now and giving away Wakanda Forever to 3 subscribers on the 15th of February, and all you have to do to be on the chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. We pick the comments at random on the 15th, and the winners of the last one are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of The Last of Us, which will be linked on screen right now. It's so in-depth, really proud of ourselves for how... Shout out to myself for how deep I go on that, and yeah, definitely check it out right after this. Out of the way, thanks for sticking to the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.